The first news: texting dialing while driving raises crash risk. A sophisticated real-world study confirms that dialing, texting, or reaching for a cell phone while driving raises the risk of a crash or a near miss, especially for younger drivers. But the research also produced a surprise. Simply talking on the phone did not prove dangerous, as it has in other studies. This one did not distinguish between handheld and hands-free devices, a major weakness. And even though talking doesn't require drivers to take their eyes off the road, it's hard to talk on a phone without first reaching for it or dialing a number. Things that raise the risk of a crash, researchers note. Earlier work with simulators, test tracks, and cell phone records suggests that risky driving increases when people are on cell phones, especially teens. The 15 to 20-year-old age group accounts for 6% of all drivers, but 10% of traffic deaths and 14% of police-reported crashes with injuries. For the new study, researchers at the Virginia Tech Transportation Institute installed video cameras, global positioning systems, lane trackers, gadgets to measure speed and acceleration, and other sensors in the cars of 42 newly licensed drivers 16 or 17 years old, and 109 adults with an average of 20 years behind the wheel. The risk of a crash or near missing among young drivers increased more than sevenfold if they were dialing or reaching for a cell phone, and fourfold if they were sending or receiving a text message. The risk also rose if they were reaching for something other than a phone, looking at a roadside object, or eating. Among older drivers, only dialing a cell phone increased the chances of a crash or near miss. However, that study began before texting became more common, so researchers don't know if it is as dangerous for them as it is for teens. Engaging in distractions increased as time went on among novice drivers but not among experienced ones. The National Institutes of Health and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration paid for the research. Results are in Thursday's New England Journal of Medicine. David Strayer, a University of Utah scientist who has done research on this topic, said the findings that merely talking on the phone while driving was not dangerous is completely at odds with what we found. The study methods and tools may have underestimated risks because video cameras capture wandering eyes but can't measure cognitive distraction, he said. You don't swerve so much when you're talking on a cell phone. You just might run through a red light, and sensors will not necessarily pick up anything amiss unless a crash occurred, Strayer said. As for texting, we all agree that things like taking your eyes off the road are dangerous, he said. At least 12 states ban the use of handheld cell phones while driving, and 41 ban text messaging. All cell phone use is banned by 33 states for novice or teen drivers, says the National Conference of State Legislatures, citing information from the Governor's Highway Safety Administration. The second news, Robin Roberts shares first photo of her girlfriend. Robin Roberts can't stop gushing about her girlfriend. The Good Morning America anchor shared the first photo of her longtime love, Amber Legend, on Monday's segment of the Hit Morning Show. The 53-year-old host and fellow anchors Laura Spencer, Amy Robach, and George Stephanopoulos happily shared stories and snaps from their holiday vacations. Roberts was smiling with excitement as she detailed her time off, which started with a trip to Turks and Caicos, then a jet set to Algonquin, Maine, and lastly down to Baton Rouge, Louisiana for her niece's wedding. Roberts shared a family photo from her niece's wedding, where she explained who was on tap for the joyous occasion. Next to me is my girlfriend, Amber, and my sister-in-law, Cynthia, and my brother, Butch. And it was a glorious, glorious time that weekend. Being that this is the first time Roberts has mentioned her girlfriend on television since coming out in a Facebook post on December 29th, Stephanopoulos took the opportunity to address the exciting news. He hinted that her relationship with Lan was a well-known fact among her close colleagues and that he hoped her experience coming out was positive. I have never been happier or healthier than I am right now, and my year-end post was just full of gratitude and just telling everyone all that I'm grateful for, including my girlfriend Amber, who really loved me through a difficult year. Roberts responded emotionally. Robert's sister, Sally Ann, and Amber were both by the star's side as she bravely battled breast cancer in 2008 and a rare blood disorder called myelodysplastic syndrome, which required her to have a bone marrow transplant in 2012. Roberts and Lan, a licensed massage therapist from the San Francisco Bay Area, reportedly have been dating for 10 years. This may be the first snap we've seen of Lan, but we hope it won't be the last. Happy New Year, Robin. The third news, Internet gap between black-white seniors. African Americans over the age of 65 are much less likely to spend time online than their white counterparts, according to a study released on Monday. The Pew Internet and American Life Project survey found that just 45% of black seniors are Internet users, compared to 63% amongst whites. The study of African Americans and technology use also found only 30% of black seniors had broadband Internet access, compared to 51% of whites. Overall, youth blacks continue to lag behind whites in terms of Internet use and access to high-speed broadband at home. Some 87% of whites go on the internet, compared to 80% of African Americans, while 74% of whites had broadband at home compared to 62% for blacks. The study, which analyzed findings from 6,010 American adults, including 664 who identify as African American, found a greater parity amongst younger web users. However, young, college-educated, and higher-income blacks were just as likely to use the internet and have broadband at home. The survey found African Americans were flocking to microblogging site Twitter in greater numbers. Some 22% of blacks online use Twitter, compared to 16% of whites. Twitter had also cast a spell on younger African American web users. 40% of blacks between 18 and 29 used Twitter, compared to only 28% of whites in the same bracket. The fourth news: Apple's iTunes could be hit by falling digital music sales. Will Apple's iTunes take a hit from the overall decline in digital music sales? For the first time since Apple launched its iTunes Music Store in 2003, digital music downloads decreased in the U.S., reports Billboard. According to Nielsen SoundScan's data via Billboard, digital track sales decreased 5.7% during 2013, from 1.34 billion units to 1.26 billion units. Meanwhile, digital album sales dropped 0.1%, from 117.7 million units to 117.6 million units. Although digital album sales recorded an overall decline, Apple's iTunes actually boosted its share of the U.S. album market in 2013, growing to 40.6%. According to data from global information company NPD Group, Apple held 63% of the market for pad music downloads in the fourth quarter of 2012, not long after the company celebrated the 10th anniversary of its iTunes Store last April. According to Billboard, many industry executives believe that the digital music sales decline may be due to the growing popularity of subscription and ad-supported music streaming services. However, for companies that have invested in both markets, the growth of music streaming may counter the recent declines seen in digital track sales. Fortunately, Apple is one of those companies. The fifth news: mystery illness leaves boy unable to blink. At just 3 years old, Corbin Durant has been in and out of the hospital more times than his mother can count. He was born with heart defects, including a heart valve problem, but that is just the first in a host of ailments. He has low muscle tone and nerve damage, which means he sometimes moves awkwardly. His face is partially paralyzed, resulting in an inability to blink and eyelids that looks slightly closed most of the time. Genetic counselors provide support for families. Most troubling in Most troublingly, it appears that his cerebellum is shrinking, and after years of tests, his doctors still don't know why, according to his mother Natasha Darwin.